If you are struggling to get work as a audio freelancer or just a freelancer in general, it's because one of these elements is not in place. So 2022 was a really great year for me. A lot of really fun stuff happened. I got to work on a lot of fun projects with artists. The YouTube channel hit 2,000 subscribers. I got to 20,000 followers on TikTok. And while I won't get into specifics of money, this has been my most profitable year as a freelancer, which has just been such a huge blessing. And so I wanted to make this video real quick to go over how I would recommend going about marketing yourself as a freelancer in the audio space, but also just in any freelancing position as a whole. I just kind of wanted to do something fun and just give back as a thank you to all the people who've subscribed and supported me. Big thank you to John McLucas. His advice has been such a huge help for me growing in this past year. Also, thank you to Austin Hull and the Make Pop Music Group on Facebook. I've been watching Austin's content for a long time, so getting a shout out directly from him, actually, it meant a lot, and I don't know, it was a little bit of a moment for me. So in this video, I'm going to break down how I would start making money as a freelancer, specifically in how to get people to work with you on projects and get to a point where I'm at now where you're not really chasing down people to work with them, but instead people are coming to you based off of the work that they've seen you do. And the first thing I would say is that it's nowhere near as complicated as most people think it is, because most of what you need to know in terms of marketing yourself as a freelancer can be summed up in this one statement, which can be broken up into like 5 parts. If you are struggling to get work as a audio freelancer or just a freelancer in general, it's because one of these elements is not in place or you haven't had all of them together for very long. And we'll just go through these one at a time. So the first part is do quality work. There is no way of getting around this. If you want people to hire you to do things, you need to be able to actually do those things. And something that I feel like a lot of people don't understand when they're starting out is when we say quality, that quality can actually be pretty subjective. As an indie pop artist, the things that make my productions quality are not the same things that make a dark pop beat quality. Obviously, there's some crossover. So a large part of knowing whether or not your stuff is quality is going to be based off of your knowledge of the niche of music that you're producing. Like, I define quality as the consumer's response to quality. So if you are a fiction novelist, what do people who read fiction novels like? And then look at the sort of industry standards of quality for that. All right, an example I'm always using is this XXXTentacion album. At the time, it was probably the most distorted mix I had ever heard in my life. And if you were going to try to measure this by an audio school perspective, most of these guys do not even follow basics of mixing. But at the end of the day, 2 of the songs have 1 billion streams. One of them has almost 2 billion. And it's because the people who listen to this style of music don't really care about audio fidelity. And so the quality is more so the vibe that the song produces. The fix for this one is not that easy because on some level it is just kind of like improve your craft. But if I were to come up with something that's a little bit more actionable, I would say focus on the specific area that you are trying to get hired in, like in terms of something that's a bit more niche specific, and start collecting research on like what is a high quality mix done in this style that I'm doing, and not just going off of your own personal tastes with it. Your own personal tastes do factor into your sound, but I feel like it's more important to understand the context that other people are going to be looking at it with, and then sprinkle in the flavor that you as an individual bring. So yeah, step 1 is quality work. And the second part is that it gets published. And when I use the word published, I'm referring more so to this first adjective of being prepared and issued for public sale or readership. Another way that you could describe it is when you are starting a project, that project will conclude when it is released. Like, we're starting this project with the mindset that if it does not get released and put out there in the rest of the world, then it's not finished. The way that I've always worded it to people is until your actual work is out there for the rest of the world to see, it doesn't count. And I mean that from the sense of if you have the perfect mix in your bedroom, but you don't actually release it, it's about as good as not mixing anything at all. All right, I have met producers who I will just say straight up are better producers than me, but I am getting more consistent work than them solely because I have been putting stuff out, acknowledging that there might be a couple of things that I still want to change about it, but then I just put it out and I use that process to internalize what I want to do differently next time, and I grow from that instead of just holding it hostage until it's perfect. If you're into TED Talk style stuff, I would highly recommend this video from Patreon called Work to Publish by Jack Conte, who's the CEO of Patreon. On some level, this idea of publishing, I just straight up stole from him. But beyond watching that video, my suggested fix for this, if you're struggling with it, is to get at least 3 finished pieces done. And by pieces, that could be fully mixed songs if you're a mixing engineer, maybe 3 short stories if you're a writer. And by published, that doesn't mean that you need to like publish them in some official way with like a publishing company. I mean, just literally have them out there in the world where people can see it. All right, for me, part of my publishing process is this YouTube channel. The reason that I'm doing it is so that I can show people what I am capable of doing for their production projects. The third part of the sentence is where relevant people can see it. And this is where we start getting into the marketing part of being a freelancer. All right, you need to find where your ideal client lives or where they are often and go there and be a part of that. All right? And the reason that we use relevant here is that regardless of what kind of service you're offering, the chances are it is not something that universally everybody is going to want. All right, I have friends locally who only work with metal bands, and they have a process for finding metal bands to work with. And a large part of that for them is going to local shows because we're in the Seattle area and that's a big scene here. And they're able to get a decent amount of work that way. But for me, I make indie pop stuff, and there's not as big of a physical scene here in Seattle for that style of music. So if I were to use that same tactic of going to live shows, I wouldn't see the same kind of results. But when we're talking about publishing works, we're also talking about digital spaces. All right, the reason why TikTok has been such a big emphasis for my business for the past few years is because there is a sizable amount of indie artists on TikTok. And so when I'm doing content like this that shows them that I'm capable of producing music that sounds like Phoebe Bridgers, I'm not just putting it anywhere randomly. I'm putting it in a place, TikTok, where there's a high volume of people that I know would be willing to work with me on a project. If you haven't been publishing stuff up to this point, I would start with TikTok and YouTube just because those are generally good places to start. But even beyond just specific social media platforms, I would just go online and see if you can find communities that are full of people that could potentially be clients. Like, don't just post your stuff or try to get people to work with you, but like actually engage in that community and be active. And if you are unsure of who your ideal client is, I would strongly recommend reading Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. I recommend this one to anybody who is starting a freelancing business and they're trying to find themselves in terms of who they are as a business provider and who their potential clients are. The fourth part of the sentence is on a consistent schedule. All right, this is where things can get a little bit harder. Like, for those of you who do not know, I have posted 3 TikToks a week for like almost 2 years. And in the past year, I have put up a YouTube video every single week, and they're always on Friday. And I know for a fact that a large part of why I had a lot of growth this year is A, the quality of my content, but also I was just really consistent with it. So the right people that I want to see my work could see that I was doing quality work because I was publishing it constantly. And that consistency was how I sort of became known for doing what I do in terms of music production. I would say that if you struggle with this, I would say make a game plan for how you are going to be publishing more this year. And again, you're going to need to apply this to your own scenario, but for you, it could be something like making a YouTube video once every couple of weeks, taking TikTok more seriously, or just making sure that whenever you are doing interesting work, that you're talking about it constantly and that you're making a big deal whenever something you've done comes out. And then the last part of the statement, continue doing that for a long time. This was around the time when I started taking it seriously about a year ago. And so yeah, it literally took me doing a video consistently every single week before I got to this point. And I think it's important to emphasize this because when you take the long-term route when building a business and marketing yourself, you reap a lot of benefits that you don't get if you do something viral or quick. You can build it one of 2 ways. You can either build it quick and unstable or slow and unmovable. And what I mean by that is if you want to build something really quickly, a sandcastle is like the fastest thing you can build. And you can get the satisfaction of building something really quickly, or you can take slow steps and then build something that is sustainable long-term for the future. And this is probably something that I see a lot of content creators in my field specifically not doing. When you are coming up with your publishing schedule or your content schedule or the kind of work that you're going to be doing, most of the time it's done in this very desperate way because you're just trying to bring clients in. And what I would encourage people to do is make a plan that is sustainable long term. Like plan it like a marathon and not just like a sprint, like a super quick burst. Because marathon runners understand that if you are going to be running a long distance, you need to pace yourself. You need to slow down more than what you would normally do if somebody just told you to straight up run, because you're going to need to conserve your energy for the last bit of the marathon. And a lot of people I see are just kind of sprinting, using this content schedule that's not sustainable, starting projects that they cannot finish, and working themselves to the bone in a way that they are not going to be able to sustain. And so when you find a way to talk to the people who might potentially be interested in hiring you, and you've made a game plan for how you're going to consistently show your high quality work to them on a regular basis, make sure you're making a plan that is sustainable. The biggest reason why I'm not a fan of something like hustle culture and saying give 110% all the time is because anybody who's run a marathon knows that the people who do that never finish a marathon. So have your ideas for how you're going to make content and how you're going to try to market yourself and how you're going to do it consistently, but do it in a way that's not going to exhaust you within a month. All right, going back to me, I used to do 7 videos a week, one every single day, but then that became unsustainable for me with the amount of work that I was getting, so I cut it back to just 3 a week, and it hasn't really hurt me that much, to be honest. So yeah, all the points together here: do quality work that gets published in places where relevant people can see it on a consistent schedule for a long period of time. If you are struggling as a freelancer, it's either because one of these is not there, or you've got all of these and you haven't done them for a long enough period of time for you to see actual results from it. Okay, again, I've been posting nonstop this entire year, and it literally took till about, it looks like November, early December for things to actually start turning around. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'll try to respond to them as much as I can. I wanted this to be more of a giving back video, so no audio tips this week, but I really feel like this stuff is important, and this is honestly the kind of video that I think I'll refer people back to, 5 years from now. Because when I have people asking me how I do what I do, this is literally just what I tell them. But yeah, if you have any questions or if you want any more book recommendations, put them down in the comments. Yeah, I will see you guys next week. And yeah, I'm excited for 2023, and hopefully we'll all make a lot of money next year. See ya.